everyone, so in part 1 I showed you how we dug up the driveway to get ready to install some gravel, but today I'm going to show you how we install some path edgings and some sleepers for some raised borders and some boundaries between us and the neighbours. So keep on watching if you want to see how we get on. So originally I was going to install a load of path edgings, but I decided I thought it'd be easier just copying what I did in the back garden, and that was to lay brand new treated sleepers down. And I knew I could carry these, I knew I could cut them, and I liked the look, so yeah, I thought it would be easier. And I also wanted to use them to create a raised bedding area. So to get a visual, I laid down my first sleeper right in front of where the trees used to be. And I thought it'd be a good idea to position it where I didn't have to cut it and to see whether a boxed area would get in the way of any roots. And it did, so I had to spend a lot more time removing them. And I also dug a bit of a trench out as well, just so I could make sure they were fairly level. I wanted to create a bit of a slope, so any water runoff, but I only wanted that slope to be slight. And once I'd got it where I wanted it, I measured the distance between the sleeper and the wall, and obviously that measurement was going to be the same on the other side as well. So then I transferred that onto a sleeper and used my bags of sub-base as a workbench. I did get some funny looks while I sawed this on my front drive. So then I put the two sides either end and just did a dry lay just to see how level they were and whether I needed to dig a little bit more. And then brushed over the newly cut edges with some preserver. That way it had less chance to rot. So to join the sleepers together, I used these angle brackets. That way it would be much easier to make sure everything was level when I laid it down. But I will use some much better angle brackets later on. But because I wasn't going out that day, I just raided what I had in my shed. So I'm working on one of the side pieces right now, and I used an offcut because it was lighter and a speed square, just so I knew exactly where to screw down the brackets. And then held up the side sleeper to the main sleeper and screwed it down. But I had to be very careful because if I pushed them inwards, it would have completely broken the brackets. But it was very helpful. And then repeated that for the other side. So once I'd screwed those all together, I very carefully and slowly moved it into its right position. But before I fixed those properly into place, I then moved over to the sleepers that I wanted to create as a boundary line between us and the other next door neighbours. So for this area, I had to dig with my hands a little bit and scoop away the aggregate that I would put down. Note you can see our plumb line here, just so we knew exactly where to go. And pulled back any weed control. And I had to dig a bit more because it was quite uneven for the sleepers to go down. So after doing another dry lay, I marked out exactly where one of them overlapped and I cut that off so it would all fit perfectly. So then we're on to a totally new day, and I'd managed to nip to Toolstation to get some better brackets that I wanted. And these are heavy duty ones, so I changed all the cheaper angle brackets with these ones. And once I pushed it as close to the wall as possible, I made sure I got it to the height I wanted by packing it with some sub-base underneath. And I did that all the way around. So then I checked with the spirit level. It's bang on there. That's alright. And then I started spreading plenty of sharp sand underneath. And this was to create a nice bed for it, so there'd be less movement. And those angle brackets came in handy again. And I took somebody's advice on Instagram and used the angle bracket to fix to the brick wall. And I did this by pre-drilling a hole, putting a raw plug in, and then screwing it into place. And repeated that for both sides. And I used that exact same method for the sleeper boundary as well. And the plumb line was the height line that I wanted, and I laid it all out and used sub-base and sand again to get it level. And fixed an angle bracket either side, but I had to avoid the cable here that you can see, which is our Virgin internet cable, because without it I wouldn't be able to put this video up. And because I never had any nail plates at this stage, again, I will replace these later, I had to crudely butt the sleepers together with some offcuts and just fix them together to allow me to continue making everything level. And because the nights are getting very dark on us so soon, Luckily my screwdriver has a light on it and I fixed the last angle bracket in place. So now it's time to add some nail plates. So I unscrewed these offcuts that I temporarily used and replaced with these that I got from Selco and just fixed together with a few random screws. And I only did this on 2 of the joins. And then I used 2 road pins for sleepers that go into the ground. And I malleted these in on the back and again directly behind where the join is, and then screwed those in as well. I absolutely love these, and I also use these on my back garden patio project. And then it was time to install some path edgings. So to mark out my plumb line, I attached some string to a nail and hammered it to the mortar in my pillar. Then on the other side I wrapped it around a brick. But because we needed the perfect right angle, because we were going to have a corner of edging that led towards the fencing, I used my builder square to get everything right. And just in case we knocked the string, my fiancé spray painted a black line. And then because there were a fair bit of concrete under here, I had to use my concrete breaker again because the path edgings were about 6 inches deep, and then we needed some space for cement as well. And then once we'd got some sort of depth, we got an idea by placing the path edgings inside, but also used this scrap piece of wood that was slightly taller than the path edging, so that would give us room for cement. And although I didn't get much of this on film because my memory card was full, we installed the path edgings upside down so it was a complete flat edge, and I'd be patching up the tarmac to the same level as well later. And although you can't see it, we did hire a cement mixer from Selco just behind the camera, and I took some of your advice in one of my last videos and bought some frostproof additive to mix in with it. So my fiancé was on mixing duties and I was the one installing the path edgings. And although I like to take time and get things right, I had to do this much quicker. And that is how the corner turned out. And we were actually due some frost that night as well, so I covered everything with some bubble wrap, some old rags. But I'm just going to fast forward a few days and show you that I also haunched the back of the edging with mortar, particularly around the corner, because both us and the neighbours are quite likely going to drive over this bit if we needed to get in on an angle. But we didn't drive over this for a few days just to be safe. So the original plan was to have it all ready by Christmas, and I really thought we could have got it done, but then we had a lot of snow, we had to wait for it to clear over a week, so now we're just going to have to leave it till after Christmas, and it gives us some time to pick the granite or gravel that we want. So yeah, if you want to find out how it goes, then don't forget to give it a like and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in my next one, and I'll see you in 2018, and I hope you all have a great Christmas. Thanks for watching, bye! Merry Christmas, everyone. Bye. Sit. Paw. Paw. Good one.